All right, well, a lot of people are hitting the roads with their dogs this summer, but do you know how to properly travel with them?
It's important that you know the safety risks that come with traveling with pets. ABC 15's Amanda Kinseth is live in Surfside Beach with tips on how to safely travel with your four-legged friends and how to keep them busy in this heat. Good morning, Amanda.
That's right. A lot of people travel with your pets. You know, they're part of your family, but you want everything to go well and smooth. And just like traveling with kids or anybody else, you have to, you know, make preparations and do various things.
Absolutely. Actually, me and a buddy of mine who actually owns Pipe Doctors, which is a local company here, we're talking about this the other day, how overrated it is, or underrated, excuse me, traveling with your pets. You got to make sure you do the pre-trip. You know, make sure you have everything, make sure you have water, make sure you have food for the dog. Make sure you plan your stops for the bathroom breaks. Make sure that the hotel you're going to is, in fact, pet friendly. A lot of people make that mistake. So all those things are very important. It's almost like traveling with a kid.
Right. Yeah, and you have to do your legwork. And you're right, the hotels, I mean, that's a big thing, because if you show up and you can't stay there with your pet, then, you know. Absolutely.
You definitely create another problem. So I definitely say do your homework, you know, map out where you're going to stop, map out where you're going to stay, and ensure that everything's squared away.
Right. And if you need to stop places too, you know, what do you do then with your pet? So kind of like take turns with them outside if you can't go inside? So
what we recommend is actually take like a 15-20 foot leash versus your standard 4-foot leash. That way you give them time, you give them room to exercise when you get out and you stop and give them bathroom breaks. Because it's important, just like us, for them to stretch their legs and get a little bit of exercise during a long trip. So yeah, you know, I'd say stop at least once an hour, give them about 5-10 minutes.
You know, run around and get the stretched legs everybody needs to
Absolutely.
do that. Back to you.
Some great advice there, off-leash, as you know, traveling with Chester the way that you do.
Yeah, there's always those things you can't forget, especially like treats along the way. That's a big one.
Yeah, and we just took Swift all the way up to upstate New York and back, and he just slept the whole time, so that was kind of nice. Off-Leash Canine Training is also hosting its very first motorcycle poker run this Saturday.
And all proceeds will go directly to the Grand Strand Humane Society.
If you're hitting the road this summer with your dog, you might want to check beforehand that you have the proper items to keep them safe while in the car. ABC 15's Amanda Kinseth is live in Surfside Beach with what you need to know before you're planning to hit the road with your four-legged friend. Good morning.
Good morning. That's right. We've already talked about be sure to have food, plenty of water, and now what's the safest way for a pet to travel in your vehicle?
So we always say the go-to is if you have obviously the space in the room, a crate is actually the safest way. So if you could put it in the back of your SUV or in the back seat of the car, that's usually the safest way. Make sure it's, you know, not too big to where the dog can obviously run back and forth, just enough for them to stand up, turn around, and lay back down. And then two, actually, if you cannot do that, they actually make seatbelt harnesses for the dogs that you strap them in the seat.
Really?
That way, if something were to happen, obviously they stay where they're at. They're not flying, you know, up to the front seat and stuff like that.
Right.
So.
What about in the front seat on the lap with their head out the window? Because that's usually what I see.
Yeah, we usually don't recommend that. You know, obviously, if something were to happen, then, you know, the dog could fly out of the car, and, you know, that's a whole nother problem in itself. So.
Absolutely. Well, who knew that there's little pet seatbelts out there? Didn't know that. Back to you.
Some good advice. Thank you very much, Amanda Kinseth out there in Surfside Beach for us. Off-Leash Canine Training is also hosting its very first motorcycle poker run this Saturday. All proceeds will go to a familiar cause to us here at ABC 15, the Grand Strand Humane Society.
Speaking of maybe the summertime, a lot of people are hitting the roads with their dogs this summer, but do you know how to properly travel with them?
It's important that you know the safety risks that come along with traveling with pets. ABC 15's Amanda Kinseth is live in Surfside Beach with tips on how to safely travel with your four-legged friends and how to keep them busy in the summer heat. Good morning, Amanda.
That's right. Good morning. It's the summer heat. You know, whether you're traveling somewhere for a vacation or just traveling to the grocery store, if you have your pet with you, there's a lot you need to think about because being in the car and it's hot. So what are some things people should know?
So our number one rule of thumb is whether you're going to the grocery store and running in for 5 minutes or you're going to Walmart and hanging out for 20 minutes,
Wait, you can get out of Walmart in 20 minutes because I cannot get out of there for at least an hour.
I hear you on
anyway.
that. Do not leave your pet or child for that in a car while you run into the store, because you never know what can happen. You get stuck in for longer than 5 minutes, you know, your car shuts off for whatever reason, and you know, if it's 80 degrees outside, it's going to end up being 140 in the car very quick, and dogs just, they can't handle that kind of heat, and it's dangerous and it can kill them. So
right, and leaving the windows down, that doesn't really help because it's hot outside too.
It's hot outside, the humidity, especially down here, you know, you have still air. You know, dogs have no mechanism of sweating. Their mechanism of cooling down is panting. They can only do that for so long before they have heat strokes. So.
Right, and leaving the air conditioning on, I mean, is okay, but like you said, the cars could shut off.
And you never know if the dog goes up in the front seat, cuts off the ignition. I mean, there's so many variables on what can actually happen. So.
Okay, yeah, something to definitely think about because it does heat up quick in those cars.
Absolutely.
In there. And
Absolutely.
then, of course, if you're traveling, the basics, don't forget the food and the water, and then stop for stretching breaks as well. Back to you.
Some great advice if you're traveling with your pet.
We all know about those bathroom breaks. Got to take Swift and Chester out sometimes.
There you go, and don't leave them in the car.
No.
Can't drive it home enough. Off-Leash Canine Training also hosting its very first motorcycle poker run this Saturday.
And all proceeds go directly to the Grand Strand Humane Society. If
you're hitting the road this summer with your dog, you might want to check beforehand that you have the proper items to keep him safe while in the car. ABC 15's Amanda Kinseth is live in Surfside Beach with some of what you need to know if you're planning to hit the road with your four-legged friends. Good morning.
Good morning. That's right. Absolutely. We've talked about the basics. Have enough food and water. You know, maybe have them travel in a crate. What do you do once you get to your destination? What do you do with your dog?
So we always say, you know, even before you leave, plan out your trip, obviously, and check out the pet-friendly places in the area. You know, there's a lot of stores in Myrtle Beach, you know, that allow pets in. Keep them cool, keep them exercising and walking. And then when you're in the hotel, you know, play little games with them like tug, anything like that to do some obedience training inside that's going to mentally stimulate, which is actually going to wear out the dog a little bit as well. So plan it out and just have fun.
Right, and take a long leash too. That way, if you go somewhere, you can.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to take a long leash so you give them room. They need to run, so you're at least giving them, you know, room to run circles around you if need be. So.
Right. Or you can just jog with them too, right?
Or check out a local dog park, and that way you can let them go off leash and let them have a ball.
Yeah, and meet some new doggy friends. Take all those tips with you if you go traveling this summer. Back to you.
There you go. Lots of great advice out there in Surfside Beach with Amanda Kinseth and Off-Leash Canine Training. The group's also hosting its very first motorcycle poker run this Saturday, and all proceeds raised from that are going to go to the Grand Strand Humane Society.